Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sammy United People's TV. We've kicked off the return of football, 16 days without a game. Man United last night, a mega frustrating 1-0 defeat against Forest. All right. It wasn't exactly shocking for the fact that, 13th, 14th position, United lost to third place Forest, who have beaten Liverpool at Anfield this season, who have beaten City this season, who have the most clean sheets in the league, but it's just frustrating that we gave them exactly what they wanted, an early goal on the counter-attack, and then they just sat in peak Mourinho deep shape, and we couldn't break them down. And it was just a game with a lot of frustration. Now, you can let me know what you think in the chat, as you always do. I'm going to run through Amorim's comments on the frustration, on the progress that he saw, on Garnacho, on Wasteful United, on Elanga and his performance. Oh, is it a big mistake that United No. Don't just overreact to individual things that happened. United fans are incredible. I don't know whether this applies to every other club, but United fans are incredibly good at revisionism. Boy, they are good at revisionism. I'll run through everything, all right? Who else noticed that Sam always does a salute at the beginning of the show? Yes, sir. I would be a bad soldier. I wouldn't even pass the bloody physical test. Anyway, let's see who's here from the mods and the members, and then we'll get into the show. I'm guessing there's going to be plenty of United fans who goes, oh, you know what, Sam? I just can't be asked to talk about United this morning. I'm just too frustrated. I understand that, but I'll always be here. Stephanie, good morning to you. Carl, good morning to you. Josh, you're there as well. We've got Ryan, Joyvin, John, Teresa, Mike, Ashraf, Foxy, Damien, Lee, you're there as well. Volpes gifting a membership to Blacks. You and Blacks now. Busy mates. And I'm sure there'll be lots of regulars tuning in. Let's dive straight into it. All right. What's your main takeaway from that game last night? All right. Let me know in the chat. Because, yeah. That was a game where Manchester United had 24 shots. That is the most that we've had in a Premier League game this season. We had chances. And I tell you what, if we had players who were more confident, more technical, just a little bit higher quality, I'm sure confidence plays a big part of all of this, we would have actually created a lot more clear-cut chances, a lot of crosses that didn't go through to the player, a lot of final balls that, if you made the right decision, we would have created so many more clear-cut opportunities. But even regardless of that, we should have scored a couple, at least last night. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. We don't have a number 9, says John. We really need a proper right wing back, says Ashraf. Yeah, well, we all know that we need a right wing back. Wore my top for the first time in a long time and we lost. So we can all blame Dean. So it's your fault we lost, Dean. Apologise and refund everyone. Teresa saying, I remember when fans were banging on about Elanga not being good enough. We'll speak about Elanga in a little bit. It's simple for me. Osman, says Linton. Disappointing, says David. I felt Dorgu was below par and Garnacho was a wind-up. Alex is saying, had to cover for my boss who's a Forest fan who was at the City ground. Now I have to listen to a day of gloating at TalkSport. Headphones in, Alex. I've got some big projects I've got to work on. Headphones in, get that noise cancellation on. Sod listening to a Forest fan all day. Hey, look. Forest have a very particular skill set, like Liam Neeson from Taken. They've got a very particular system, which is flourishing for them this season. But next season, Forest will not progress any further than where they are. If Forest take that into the Champions League, they're losing. A more technical team beats Forest last night. The reason that Forest won is because United were wasteful, because United was simply not good enough in front of goal. You try that against PSG and the top levels you get in the Champions League, you're going to get ripped to shreds. And then you're going to have to... Look, that's what annoyed me about last night, right? We gave them exactly the goal that they wanted. And I'll speak about that in a little bit, but I was annoyed, and you might say this is Captain Hindsight, but I was annoyed at who was furthest back defending from that corner. Really, really annoyed me. As for the game itself, Amorim was speaking after, right? He's saying, look, sometimes you lose a game, but you feel the opponent was better than you. I think it's easy to move forward. Today, I think we were the better team. And I genuinely think we were, right? You might call me deluded. You can say what you want, right? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. The football I watched in that first half from United was some of the best, just the best tempo and the best pace of play that I think I've seen under Amorim. We were passing between each other with actual zip. You know how sometimes you can pass a ball to someone 10 yards and it just kind of dribbles, just eventually reaches them. Or you can actually fizz it into them at pace. Good touch, take it out. And just doing that is what United did in that first half. It was actually some good football, some good patterns, some good plays. And then we reached the final third and we didn't score, or that chance didn't get created. I think we were quite easily, and you're saying that even if Ant's saying it, that must be true. I think we were easily the better team. But soon as we reached that point where the quality needed to come through, where that final ball was needed, where that cross was needed, where that shot was needed. Yeah, Black Coffee, I completely agree with you. If we played like that all season, we'd easily be comfortably top 4. If we played like that the whole game, I think we would have won that game. Second half, tell you what Nuno did. Nuno, before half-time, made 2 subs, ended up switching to a proper back 5, which kind of dropped into a back 6. And we couldn't do anything. When you play against a team who sits that deep, you really need your technical and creative players to unpick it. And we had Garnacho. And I think Garnacho, in that sense, was probably the worst option that we could have had. Garnacho, and I'll speak about Garnacho in a little bit. But you know what's mad, right? Is the fact that we had to bring Maguire on to give us a new option. Now, we're there chasing a goal against a team who's lying deep, and we're putting Maguire on up front. And the even funnier part is that it worked. He actually helped. And we actually created some, right, even towards the end of that game. Last 5 minutes, we were all over them. But we just couldn't put the ball in the net. Boy, we need a goal scorer. And Teklom, you putting that down there, I completely agree with that. And I'll speak about Ahmad in a bit. Hand on heart, I'm fully aware that all of United's problems with attacking are not solved simply by signing a better striker. Right? I wouldn't even begin to pretend that if we signed Osimhen tomorrow and he comes into this team, all of a sudden we're scoring like 6 goals a game and everything is sorted. Everybody in the attack needs to be more proficient. But we, of course, need a focal point. If we win the Europa League, I think it will be Goalscorers. I think the club would stretch to that because we're back in the Champions League and it changes the financial outlook for next season. I think if we don't win the Europa League, I genuinely think United will go to Napoli and I'll have a conversation about Osimhen and also about Garnacho. But these, I said in my match reaction yesterday, we'll speak about it this morning. The game was effectively about these two, right? I'm going to focus on Elanga first and the conversations that came out after that game, and then we'll move on and we'll speak about Garnacho. Because Elanga, right? This is what I was saying earlier. Amorim praising the run of Elanga. Yeah, but no one's catching him at that point, right? And I know it wasn't really brushed over, but it was mentioned in the commentary last night. Running 85 metres in 9 seconds with the ball at your feet whilst dribbling is nuts. That is rapid beyond belief. Elanga was like a coiled spring yesterday. But as Ethan has just said there, and somebody else said it earlier, and might have been you, that Garnacho tried. Did you see what happened in the second half when Eriksen picked up a booking? How did he pick up a booking? Elanga's there, yoink, grabbing your shirt, down you go, give me a yellow card. Is it that difficult? Would it really have been that difficult just to swipe him out? Because that was the exact goal that Forest would have prepped and planned for. And that's what annoyed me. First of all, somebody should have just taken the yellow. But also, and this is, as I said, you might say this is Captain Hindsight. But I don't understand why it wasn't Dorgu and Delo as our two deepest players. We know that Forest are going to give us possession. You go and look at all their stats. I imagine, in fact, I looked this morning, big up Luca, with a scatter graph I didn't really understand. Forest, this season, have got the lowest possession and the highest amount of counter-attacks. You know they're going to let you have the ball. You know that they're going to hit you on the counter-attack. So to have Mazraoui down there as the last man, who was down there with him? Can someone remind me? I need to look at the replay, actually. I think it was Mazraoui. Maybe Ugarte was in the middle. And Garnacho, to his credit, was like head down. He was sprinting and he was trying, but he just couldn't get there. I just don't know why we didn't have Delo and Dorgu, probably the best players I think we've got for defending the transitions, or maybe even Yoro, bringing them over there. Why wouldn't you put those players there? That's just, for me, that's dumb. That's just stupid for United. Like, Dorgu was just the wrong side of Elanga when the ball came over the top. So Elanga had like a few yards on him and he had the first step. I think Dorgu eventually caught up just about. Well, he didn't actually because he didn't tackle him. But this is important, right? And this is a conversation that we need to have. Naturally, there's going to be a lot of revisionism going this morning. United made a big mistake letting Elanga go. I loved this response from Ruben Amorim. He was asked if it was hard to see Elanga performing at Forest, and he says no. They have to perform at United. We can't look at players that go away. They had their chance at Manchester United. I'm saying this must happen in other fan bases. It must do. It's just I've just not got exposure to it. But revisionism is, I think it's probably one of the things I get annoyed about the most is revisionism. It's just forgetting everything that's happened before and just looking at the shiny thing in front of you. So I want to ask you a question here, right? Answers in the chat. How many goals do you think Elanga scored in his last 17 months as a Manchester United player? Right? Because everyone's looking at Elanga there going, Elanga would be good in this system. Elanga would be good there. I'll tell you what Elanga was, or is, absolutely like perfect for that Forest system. Absolutely. It's almost like you geared the system towards him. I absolutely loved that response from Amorim because it's bang on. Like, people are looking about what Anthony's doing and what Rashford's doing, blah, blah, blah. Mikhail, you're saying 6. Ant, you're saying 3. Slide Viper, you're saying 4. Matthias, you're saying 3, maybe 5. Someone said down there. 7 says Stu. You're all wrong. Wehib, and Carl, you're bang on. Anthony Elanga didn't score one single goal in his last 17 months as a Manchester United player. Has he developed in a system where he is absolutely thriving? Yeah, you're damn right he is. He's looking fantastic. Elanga was always an athlete, by the way. He always had that side to his... That was naturally where he was very good at. He didn't score in 17 months. So don't you dare come at me this morning saying that Man United have made a mistake with Elanga leaving, all right? Tell you what we did make a mistake in is how cheap we let him go, but we've done that with loads of players. But I don't know whether Samuel Lutkos is making that up. That could always be a possibility. But Elanga, I don't look at and go, man, I wish we hadn't sold him. It's not recency bias. I'm telling you, it's a sort of thing that's set. Like, if you've got a kid, right? I've got it with my nieces and stuff like that. They're playing with a toy and they take it off them, or like they're trying to share it and one takes it. They cry and they see something else and go, "Ooh, never mind," and they completely forget. well, I'm telling. Never mind. There's something else to play with. It's exactly what some United fans do with players. Just ignore everything. Just look at what you're seeing in that one game and just that one context and just get angry about it. Let's forget everything that's happened before. That was an absolutely bang-on response from Amorim. I really liked it. Don't care what Rashford does at Villa. I wouldn't have seen that in a United shirt. I don't care what Anthony is doing at Betis. I would not have seen that in a United shirt. And Elanga, I'm not going to say a bad word against Elanga. I think he's doing incredibly well in a system which is very geared towards him, but he is putting the graft in. And he deserves everything that he's getting. So congratulations to Elanga, but I don't look at him and go, man, I wish he was back in my team. Let's speak about the other player in that photo, though. Garnacho. It's probably the best way to describe what I saw yesterday. You know, the first thing I want to say before I run through Amorim's comments, and I'll go down to the chat to see what you say about Garnacho. I'm not going to knock him for not trying, right? I think Garnacho, effort levels wise, he was grafting yesterday. He was sprinting back. He was doing the defensive work. He was trying his hardest. So this isn't going to be an attack on Garnacho for that, because I think that would be unfair. But Garnacho in that game, let me know what you think in the chat, right? Amorim was speaking about the decisions he made, the sort of the bad choices. It can happen in games. The most important thing for me is that he has to come back and defend. He does it. Sometimes he overdoes it, but he wants to help the team. He does his best. Sometimes he doesn't make the best choices, and I think that's how I would describe Garnacho's game yesterday. Just bad choices. Look, I'll be completely honest here, and I'll probably do a video on this further down the line. I don't think now's the right time to have this conversation. I don't think that Garnacho overall is that much better a player than when he broke through into Manchester United's first team. I think from an overall development perspective, in terms of shifting your game from being the best youth team player, the big fish in a small pond, to playing in the Premier League, and everything's got to be different. I just don't think he's developed and adapted his game enough. I think he's trying. I really think he's trying. But it's square peg, round hole as far as I'm concerned when it comes to Garnacho and the Amorim system. I feared that before he kicked a ball under Amorim. I remember naming him as a player I was concerned about. And I don't really think I've seen much. He had a good... I just don't think Garnacho's developed enough. Anthony saying, but Sammy doesn't suit the system. Play him in a system with a front three, he'll smash it. Yeah, he will. I think if you put Garnacho back in a system where you've got traditional, typical wingers, it's going to become far more natural to him. Garnacho was playing on the right-hand side at the start of that game, I believe, and just changed. I'm going to go down and read some of your comments. Was he on the left last night or the right? I think he started on the right and then shifted to the left. Daniel saying what fans fell in love with was the ability to cut inside and score. That's what he does. Now everybody hates on him for trying it. His decision-making will come with the experience. Well, I mean, to a certain point, Daniel, yeah, but every time he cut inside yesterday, and a lot of the times he's cut inside this season, it's like, his shots are pinging like 20 yards away from where he wants them to be. The execution is just nowhere near. Mahad, you're talking about game IQ and technical ability. It's just wrong decisions. It's just wrong decisions. I think that's all it was. So many times yesterday, I was looking at it going, the best in this situation, the best thing is to use that overlapping run from Dorgu. The best situation in this point is to probably play it back towards Bruno, and then Garnacho did something else. I don't know whether it's a desperation thing. I think Garnacho is desperate to get that goal. And when he got the goal against Leicester, right? It feels like he's too desperate to get those goals. That's the only way out of the sort of mindset that he's currently in. He goes, I just need to score. Just have to. Just let me get this done, and then I'll be fine. You know, sometimes you can try too hard. I feel like that's how Garnacho is playing this season. And he is, and I'll say that again and again. He's trying, man. I'm not going to question his application. I just don't think the results are there, and I don't think they're going to come because I think it's square pegs, round holes. Eric, you're saying not all are revisionist. I never wanted Elanga sold since he was young, overplayed, and deserved patience and was sold cheap. Well, fair enough, Eric. I thought that Elanga leaving was the right decision. He was too cheap, and we knew that. But what player have we sold, realistically? I can't even name any off the top of my head that I've gone, that's a really good price. United have nailed that. The overwhelming majority of players that we sell, we look at them and go, we sold him too cheap. But that was a bit under. Probably could have got more for him. What was that comment down there? It did caught my eye. Sam, you don't think Garnacho has developed enough? Should the club sell him? I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. Honestly, what I predict is that if United do want to approach Napoli for Osimhen, then I think Garnacho's part of that conversation. I don't think we go after Osimhen just directly because of the money and the wages involved. I think if the club decides that Osimhen is a striker that they want, then I think the Garnacho bargaining chip comes up in that conversation. That was just a prediction. Mr. Bang saying Dorga was dreadful yesterday. I thought Dorga's passing, which has been a lot sharper, was off yesterday. Dreadful's a bit strong. And if you think I'm going to jump down Dorga's neck, yeah, you can move straight on. Because I would never go after a player that soon. And also, he's been damn impressive since he's come in. Was it his best performance? No. But I'm not going to sit here just shouting and calling him dreadful. Alex saying, how long should young players get to adapt to new systems before you say this won't work? I mean, it's a fair question. I don't really think there's a one-size-fits-all answer to that, is there? But Garnacho is... At what point do you stop calling a young player a young player? I think this might be a strange thing to say, but I think a young player is not defined by their age. It's defined by how many games they've played for United's first team at the senior level. Because like players come into first team environments now so much consistently, I would say, younger than they did before. Like when you had Rooney breaking through, it was like an anomaly to have a teenager in the first team environment. It was weird. Now it's par for the course. Like Lewis Skelly coming through at Arsenal and just Garnacho coming through at United and Mainoo coming through at United. There's teenagers all over the shop. I think a young player, I can't put a number on this on the top of my head. I can see, Steve, you're saying 21, which is young. Shane, you're saying 24. 23. We can't judge a 20-year-old the same way we judge a 23-year-old. I think it's more to do with the games that they are playing. Like somebody can be 21 but have 100 senior games at the top level. And then somebody can be 20 and they've only played 13 times. Which one of those two players... I mean, that's stupid because the younger player is still younger. But you get the point. I think whether a player is young or not is how much experience they have at that top level. And sometimes players get that at a much younger level. How many games has Garnacho played for us? Like, I'm sure that Ahmad would have played a lot less first-team games for United than Garnacho has. And Jonathan, you're saying, well, then there are an experienced young player. Yeah, I think that's the point I'm trying to make. When people say players are young players, I think the more important defining factor is how much experience they have at an age rather than the physical age that they are. I think I know what I'm talking about here, but it kind of probably coming across a bit weird. Either way, I don't look at Garnacho as an academy player anymore. I don't look at Garnacho as somebody who's breaking through into the first team and is sort of establishing himself. I'm looking at a player who, under Erik ten Hag, started 38 consecutive games for United, was overplayed, and had to get used to that. I'm looking at someone who's a dad. I'm looking at someone who's in his third season as a Manchester United player. Certain things require age and time. Of course they do. But I look at Garnacho and I see a player who I don't think will fit this system. And that's not down to the fact that he doesn't want to try or graft. I think he does. I think he wants to be a United player. I think he wants to fit in this system. I think he wants to play for Amorim. But I think there's going to be a crossroads reached. We'll see. All right? We'll see. Yeah, Garnacho's been a dad for about, when did he have a kid? 8 months ago? Something like that. He's an old 20-year-old. You want to talk about experience? Either way, I think Laurie Whitwell's title on this is a pretty fair reflection of how I see Garnacho. It's an awkward fit. And Eric, he's talking about he needs to mature his game. I think what you're seeing is Garnacho really, really trying to mature his game. I don't think you can question his approach yesterday. You can question the sort of the output. Honestly, I just don't feel. If I was to look at Garnacho when he burst through after the FA Youth Cup and the player he was there to the player I see now, I see quite a similar player. And I'm actually seeing obviously right now you are, but you're seeing less output because people know how to play against him now. Defenders, if you're, like any good top level defender and all the coaching staff, when you go into a game, every right back will have, I imagine I have no idea, I'm not a Premier League footballer. I imagine you get like a one pager of like, okay, this is who you could come up against. If they play Garnacho on the left, he's probably going to be doing this, this, and this. If you play Xerxes on the left, he's probably going to do this, this, and this. And with Garnacho, so you can basically say, well, he's probably going to ignore the overlapping runs. You know he's going to cut inside. He can go out and shift it onto the left. But in reality, he doesn't really do that and then fire it in with his left foot too often. He'll probably cut back onto his right. So you know how you can play against that as a fullback. He's only 20. He needs a summer to adapt properly. I just think in the course of what's happening this summer for Manchester United and the importance of getting, I would say, an elite level striker, I just feel that the possibility of selling Garnacho is definitely there. And I've thought that for a while. And I tell you what, right? I don't think Mason Mount's going to be fit for the rest of this season because there's no way I can put any sort of belief in that. But if Mount does stay fit, I think you will see Garnacho's minutes be phased out. I think you'll start seeing far more of Mount and either Eriksen or Xerxes playing as the two number 10s. Because that is the style of player that Amorim wants in this team. And Jonathan, I'd say that's quite an abrasive comment, saying Amorim's a coach, not a manager. It's his job to improve players. Garnacho doesn't fit the system. You can keep trying and trying and trying and trying, and that's what he's doing, and he will keep trying, but you're going to reach a point where that just doesn't quite fit. It's just that. That's what, in my opinion, that's the road that we're going down with Garnacho. And I think if Mason Mount remains fit, Mason Mount will get more minutes towards the end of this season than Garnacho will. Because he's that sort of inside forward. He's that technical player. And whether it's Mason Mount or not, whether it's somebody else, Amorim wants players who are really naturally comfortable, confident, and technical playing in central areas. And that is not what Garnacho is. Garnacho is somebody who loves the touchline. The touchline's his best friend. He loves to hug the byline. That's his natural, that is how he's grown up as a player, and that's what's made him such an incredible player. That's natural in his game. Now, of course, you could look at Ronaldo and say, well, Ronaldo was a winger and he became a centre forward. Yeah, so it's not impossible. But Mount naturally fits what Amorim wants so much more, right? And this, I think, this is why I think you keep hearing Amorim say, well, he said it, I love Mason Mount. Again, Mason Mount is not somebody who I would question his attitude or approach. His body has just let him down. I can't believe that United have managed to find themselves in this situation. It's so long ago that you can't remember how good a player Mason Mount was for Chelsea. But he was. He was fantastic for them. But that is literally like a distant memory. I really hope that Mason Mount stays fit. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and play 90 minutes. But like the big problem yesterday was we had to bring Maguire on towards the end of the game because we had nothing else on the bench. Did we have any other attackers on the bench? I don't think we did. Yeah. We can't rely on Mount's availability. But that sort of player, contrasted with Garnacho, is what Amorim wants. Somebody who's naturally more gifted at playing in central positions, naturally better at playing in quick passing triangles, in technical areas, in close combat, in close quarters, where you're kind of surrounded by players, rather than somebody who would prefer to have 10 yards of space between him and the defender so he can explode and run at him. Someone like Rashford. Someone like Garnacho. They're different sorts of players for different sorts of systems. And not every player is going to be coachable, changeable, and transferable between one position and another. And that's just the truth of all sport. All right? Get angry about it if you want. Accept it if you want. I can just see United looking at Garnacho as a player that might be sold this summer in order to fund signing players who, and this is the thing, right? I'm not just saying that United should go out and sign whoever Amorim wants, sign those players. But we're talking about specific profiles and characteristics that even if Amorim was to get sacked in 2 years' time or a year's time or wherever it is down the line, whatever players that we sign for him, they've all got the same sort of underlying characteristics and profiles that can just transfer between systems. And that's what we haven't had. That's the problem. We've signed specialists for different sorts of... I'm not saying Garnacho is one of those, because Garnacho came through in the academy. But that's what we've done. I mean, we've ended up with a mismatch of some players who love to play slow and some players who love to play fast. Some players who can cover the ground and other players who basically can't run. The irony is that Donny van der Beek would have been ideal for this system. Jeez! Donny van der Beek. Ahmad. Like, you look at Garnacho and how he's playing, right? And you think about Ahmad in those situations, you're like, it's just different. We don't need those inside forwards to score 30 goals a season. What we need is those inside forwards to just skip past defenders and put it on a plate for someone else. But sometimes they can score goals as well. Man, I miss Ahmad. I hope he's back for the end of the season. But as I said, Mason Mount is, I think, who Amorim really wants to stay fit. Out of all the players right now who aren't fit, who have we got? We've got Martinez, of course. He'd be in the starting 11. You've got Mainu, who did thrive away at, where is it? Pleasant? I think it was Pleasant. In one of the number 10 roles. But let's be totally honest, I don't know where Mainu's future. If I was going to choose one role, I would choose one of the number 10 roles, but I don't quite know that. You've got, who else is injured? Heaven. There's more than that. Shaw. No bloody point talking about Shaw, is there? Either way, if there's one player I think Amorim could choose to be fit for the rest of the season, I think he'd choose Mason Mount. I think he sees him as a player who can actually make a real difference to that system. Because like you look at Bruno yesterday. Did Bruno have the best game? No. Did anybody have the best game? No. That's why we lost 1-0. But Bruno was playing further up towards the start of the game because Amorim looked at him and thought, we need him close to goal. We need him taking the final shot. And he had a couple of decent chances in the first 10 minutes, didn't he? Of course, Ahmad's injured too. Oh, yeah, Ahmad. He probably want Ahmad. Well, Ahmad's not going to be back until last. Yeah, but he probably would choose Ahmad, but Ahmad won't be fit towards the end of the season. But in terms of players now who are on the verge of coming back, Mainu is on the verge of coming back. Shaw, I don't know what's going on there. And Mount has now been able to play 15, 20 minutes. I think Mount is someone he wants. Hey, look, end of the season, I might say, look, that's game, set, and match for Mason Mount. But truth be told, I think even if it was game, set, and match with Mason Mount, I don't think we'll be able to sell him because we won't be able to find a team willing to pay enough to cover how much he still is on our books, because we signed him for 60 mil. It was a 4 or 5 year contract, and the amortization means you'd have to sell Mason Mount for a fair amount of money to make sure that he wasn't put down as a loss on the books. Someone down there. Bruno was awful yesterday. He's too inconsistent when expectations are. He's all we have. Every game, I can only speak about myself. I'm sitting there going, come on, Bruno. Do something. Make something happen. Just find a pass. Just take a shot. Just run through there. Bruno, please, just do something. Because fucking no one else can. That's the situation we're in right now with Manchester United this season. So when Bruno doesn't do it, Bruno's awful. Bruno. Fucking no one else is doing anything. All the expectations are resting on his shoulders. If we win a game of football, this man plays well. This man makes the difference. If he doesn't play well, United don't win. That invariably is true 90% of the time. Didn't play that great yesterday. I still always chop and change as to where I think Bruno's future is, but I think I'm more inclined to say that I would rather have Bruno playing as one of the central midfielders alongside a powerhouse, all-purpose, out-of-possession monster alongside him. And then we play a new number 10 instead. Anyway, Bruno didn't have the greatest of game yesterday. But still, it was better than the majority of around him. It's frustrating and it's I suppose you can't really be too surprised that we got hit on that transition when our two central midfielders have got the pace of these two. I'm not surprised that Casemiro got taken off. He even looked angry getting taken off because he was. It was too much of a risk. Yeah, and we are the absolute definition right now of a one-man team. There is only one player. It's kind of a little bit like we were a couple of months ago with Ahmad. We were all sitting there begging the ball to be given to Ahmad so Ahmad could try and do something, because at that point Bruno's form wasn't great and nobody else's form was great. We were just sitting there going, Ahmad, man, please just get the ball to Ahmad and let him do something. That's what we've been saying now with Bruno. Just get the ball to Bruno, please, in a decent position and let him do something. Let him try something, because no one else is going to create anything. Daniel's saying, I can't believe people are acting like we played bad. No, I don't think we played bad last night at all. And just the frustration is the word that we're all going to use. It's the word that Delo used to describe the game. It's the word that Amorim himself used to describe the game. Frustrated. That's how I feel after it. Not mega disappointed. I tell you what, have a little round of applause for that Euro tackle on Elanga. Oh, man. The timing of that was like 11 out of 10. And again, is the thing I was annoyed about from that game yesterday. Like, why wasn't Yoro there instead of Mazraoui? Marking that Yoro is somebody who has the ability. He's got a long stride. He's athletic. He's definitely getting fitter and more confident in his own body. Why wasn't it Yoro and Dalot on the halfway line instead of Mazraoui and, I think, Ugarte? It was a great tackle. That's something that he did when he played at Lille, and you looked at the centre-backs. If one centre-back was to step forward, Yoro would be the centre-back that stood backwards because he goes, all right, calm. If they come through, I'm pretty confident in a one-on-one situation that I'll be able to defend it, all right? Don't worry about it. I've got it covered. Yeah. Dean saying, I wish Chida was involved yesterday. And I think yesterday, I'm not even sure that the lack of a striker was the biggest problem yesterday. I think the biggest problem was our number 10s. In terms of their decisions and the chances that they wasted, with Garnacho and all that stuff. But just, there were so many half chances that would have been turned into full chances, and maybe goals, if we had better decisions from the number 10s. Danny saying it was probably a proactive approach, thinking if you can keep the wing back forward and recycle it, you can put crosses in again. I mean, that's fair enough as a concept until you realise that we're playing Nottingham Forest, who no other team has had lower possession than them in the league this season, and no other team has more counter-attacks than them this season. Put those two together, you know full well from a corner, if they get the ball and they win the first header from a corner, then watch out for Elanga, because he's going to burst and you won't be able to catch him. It's exactly what happened. I think I'm just annoyed that how obvious it was that they could have scored that goal, and they did score that goal. Yeah, we've already spoken about there was no professional foul on Elanga either. It's just stupid, right? Look, you can go down there and you can still pick apart this United team. You can say that striker is our biggest problem. You can say that right wing back is our biggest problem. You can say that central midfield is our biggest problem. You can say that number 10 is our biggest problem. The reality is they're all problems, right? There is not, this summer, it's impossible for United to sign one player and go, da-da, problem solved. This summer, we've just got to get it right in 3 or 4 places. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. Jibak, you're saying, don't know how we're happy with that performance. Forest played the game on their terms. They let us have the ball, sat back and defended after that goal. Well, I mean, what else can you do if you can see the 5th-minute goal to Forest? Like, United are idiots. I'm telling you, they are idiots for letting that happen. In the 5th minute, it's perfect. It's like if Forest could have written out a game plan, that would have been their game plan. Score early, sit deep. Hit on a counter-attack when we need to. It's our own fault for giving them the ability to do that. But we created plenty. We even created a couple of times before they scored. We just didn't take our chances. And look, and it's hilarious that I'm going to say this, and I actually mean it. Man City at home right now is an easier game than Forest away. I'm not just talking about the fact that Haaland's injured. Shame. It just is. City will play open. City will not play deep. City will give us space. We will be able to find and create more chances. Will we have more defending to do? Yes, we will. Of course, that's part and parcel of it. I genuinely look at this game against City at the weekend, and I will go into that with more confidence than I went into Forest away. And this, like, remember this season, people, right? Nottingham Forest have the most clean sheets in the entire Premier League. Nottingham Forest are 3rd in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest have beaten Liverpool at Anfield. They've beaten City. Now they've beaten United. It wasn't shocking to lose that last night. It was frustrating to give away that stupid early goal in exactly the way that Forest would have wanted, and to not have the goal-scoring threat to break them down. But City on the weekend, look, whether or not we win against City, I don't know. I'm not saying that we're definitely going to. But City at home is a game which should suit us a little bit better than Forest away right now. Forest parked the bus, but they did it very well, very disciplined, and it's why they're 3rd in the league. It's why they might have Champions League football next year. It's why they've kept the most clean sheets. But next season, if Forest were to do that, I don't think they would progress any further. I think it will be a one-hit wonder, and they slightly go down the other way. You don't... Hey, look, you can, I suppose, Leicester did it. They won the league. Playing that, the ball over the top from like Danny Drinkwater to Jamie Vardy was like the go-to. It was impossible to stop when Leicester won the league that season. Yeah, Dark Road, look, there might be people that disagree with this, but I genuinely saw progress in that game. I saw United playing better as a collective team in that first half than I have in most games under Amorim. Even though it was frustrating, we were getting the ball into positions where we could create chances a lot easier. Nice passing out from the back. Wasn't all awful out from the back. Some good football, some good playing through the press. Genuinely just some good football from United in that first half. Yeah, Linton, we've got to stop that. It's killing us. Only Leicester have conceded more first half goals. Or no, only Leicester have conceded more goals first in games in the league than United have this season. And every time we concede and we go 1-0 down, we play differently. We approach the games differently. And a lot of time it happens early. And you're saying the top number 8 allows our 10s to focus solely on creating. It's like they fully can't commit because they know the midfield's a liability. It's going to be such an interesting summer to see where United do prioritise their funds. Because I think there's only going to be, if I was to guess off the top of my head, I would say there would probably be like 2 top-level signings. 2 signings in the 50 million range. I think one's going to have to be a striker. And where the other one is, it's either going to be number 10 or a number 8. Right wing back, I can see United doing that internally. I think I can see United giving Mantato that opportunity. Is it a risk? Yeah, it would be a risk. But I think of all the positions, I've already said this, of all the positions where I think United might be able to find a solution from within, right wing back is pretty much the only one. Right? Albino saying, Sam, let's talk about the positive things. Hey, don't worry about that. I've talked about them briefly, but my lunchtime video is going to be running through the 5 things from that game. And yes, I will be taking that and showing examples. Frustration. That's the main takeaway from that game. And I'll say this again, right? A lot of the times this season, when United have played badly, there's been so much to question about the tactics or the system or the approach or the attitude of the players. That game last night, I don't think any of those were the problem. That game last night, the problem was the execution and the quality. That's where United fell down. It wasn't because we were playing 3 at the back. It wasn't because we were playing wing backs. It wasn't because of the way that we were playing football. Simply down to quality and execution. That was our downfall yesterday. So there was progress, but of course you're going to hit that brick wall if you haven't got the quality because it's not going to lead to results. Hence why there's going to be a lot of fans that look back on that game yesterday frustrated. They won't really talk about any positives that did happen. That's not how Amorim's going to take that forward. Genuinely, we've got more chance of beating City than we had, and it's not captain hindsight after the fact that we've lost to Forest. Ryan, you saying you like Ahmed as a wing back? It's possible. It's definitely possible. And then, of course, I think Mantato, I've already run through that. I think Mantato's the best opportunity. Yeah, the work rate is there. Look, let's find out whether that's going to get taken forward to City and whether we can find the back of the net. Don't know. But look, thank you all for tuning in. Even if it is frustrating, I'll always be here. You know that by now. Jeez, if frustration was going to take me away from doing these live shows, I would have stopped them a long-ass time ago. Next up is City on Sunday. Today's video is going to be the 5 things that we learned from last night and just diving into it a little bit more, some tactical analysis. That's it. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. If you can, please do drop a like on the video. I only waited 50 minutes to ask that question. I'm so crap at that. Have a cracking day. Man, we need some goal scorers. Take it easy.